Alright, let's talk about David Hogg. You remember him, right? He first burst onto the national stage not as a politician but as a teenager, a survivor of the horrific Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting in Parkland, Florida, back in 2018. It was a tragedy that shook America to its core. But Hogg, instead of retreating, stepped directly into the spotlight. He, alongside his classmates, co-founded March for Our Lives, a potent, youth-led movement demanding sensible gun control legislation. This wasn't just a fleeting moment of activism, it became his defining mission, showcasing an incredible resilience and a voice that demanded to be heard, cutting through the usual political noise with raw honesty and urgency. From that crucible of tragedy and activism, Hogg's journey into the heart of democratic politics has been, to put it mildly, meteoric. Think about it. One minute he's a student activist organizing marches, and what feels like the next, he's a significant figure within the Democratic National Committee. In February 2025, at the young age of 25, David Hogg was elected as a DNC vice chair. That's a big deal. We're talking about a position with real influence, a seat at the table where major party decisions are made. His ascent signifies a broader hunger within parts of the Democratic electorate for younger, more dynamic leadership. Individuals unafraid to challenge the status quo. This rapid rise, however, hasn't been without its bumps. Becoming a DNC vice chair at such a young age, especially with his activist background, immediately put him under a microscope. People on all sides started paying very close attention. What would he do with this newfound platform? Would he toe the party line, or would he continue to be the outspoken advocate that brought him to national prominence? It's a classic outsider becomes insider story, but with a Gen Z twist. The expectations were high, and the scrutiny, as we're about to see, quickly intensified from basically every direction you can imagine. His background as a gun control advocate is central to understanding his political identity. It's not just an item on his CV, it's the very foundation of his public persona. This experience has clearly shaped his approach to politics, direct, uncompromising, and deeply passionate about forcing change. He's not someone who seems content with incremental shifts or polite disagreements behind closed doors. He's shown he's willing to make noise, to push boundaries, and to confront uncomfortable truths, even if it ruffles feathers within his own party. And oh boy, have the feathers been ruffled. This young Firebrand is just getting started. So, Hogg gets this DNC vice chair role, and what's his first big move? Does he settle in, learn the ropes, maybe fetch some coffee for the senior members? Not quite. In April 2025, barely 2 months into his tenure, Hogg's organization, Leaders We Deserve, drops a bombshell. They announce a cool $20 million initiative. The goal? To primary incumbent Democrats. Yes, you heard that right. He's targeting members of his own party, specifically in safe Democratic House seats. The stated aim is noble enough: to get a new generation of diverse, progressive leaders into Congress, shaking up what some see as a stagnant political landscape. The group was quick to clarify some ground rules for this political earthquake. They said they wouldn't go after frontline members, those Democrats in super tight competitive districts where every vote counts against Republicans, and they wouldn't target those already in tough re-election battles. Their focus is squarely on those seats where a Democrat is almost guaranteed to win the general election. The idea is that these primaries are the real election in such districts, and therefore the best opportunity to inject fresh blood and new ideas into the party without risking a seat flipping to the other side. It's a strategic play, but a seriously bold one. Now you can imagine this didn't exactly go down well with everyone at the DNC cocktail parties. The initiative immediately ignited a firestorm of controversy. While some younger activists and progressive groups cheered, seeing it as a necessary jolt to the system, many established figures within the Democratic Party were, shall we say, less than thrilled. The main sticking point? Hogg's current job title. DNC Chair Ken Martin, for instance, was pretty blunt. He stated quite unequivocally, no DNC officer should ever attempt to influence the outcome of a primary election. The argument is that DNC officials are supposed to be neutral referees, not players picking sides in internal family feuds. This internal strife quickly escalated. By May 2025, Hogg's very position as DNC vice chair came under threat. The DNC Rules and Bylaws Committee decided to hold an electronic vote in June 2025. That's this month, folks, to determine if the vice chair elections, which Hogg and Pennsylvania State Rep. Malcolm Kenyatta won, should be redone. Officially, this revote stemmed from a challenge by a losing candidate, Kalen Free, over the election's conduct, supposedly unrelated to Hogg's primarying efforts. but Hogg himself suggested the timing was mighty suspicious, hinting it was backlash against his Leaders We Deserve initiative. Kenyatta, his fellow vice chair, disputed this, leading to some strategic disagreements between them. Talk about drama. The reaction from Democrats to Hogg's bold primary strategy has been, predictably, all over the place. It's like a political Rorschach test. What you see depends on where you stand. On one hand, you've got folks like Howard Cho, a DNC member from Colorado. He praised Hogg's rise and energy, but admitted his DNC tenure can be seen as tumultuous. Cho also explicitly disagreed with a DNC official getting involved in primaries, reflecting that core concern about neutrality. It's a classic case of liking the player, but not this particular play, seeing the potential but worrying about the immediate disruption. Then there are those who are more ambivalent, caught in the middle of this ideological tug-of-war. Take Paul Eckerstrom, senior vice chair of the Arizona Democratic Party. He sees both sides of the coin. On the one hand, he acknowledges the potential benefits of primaries, suggesting they can keep incumbents on their toes and more responsive to their constituents. A little healthy competition never hurt anyone, right? But he also gets why people are worried about a DNC officer leading the charge, understanding the concerns about party unity and the proper role of its leadership. It's a delicate balance, and Hogg seems to be tap dancing on the tightrope with hobnail boots. One anonymous Democratic strategist perfectly captured this internal conflict. They described Hogg as an unbelievably talented activist, giving him props for his energy and past successes. But then came they questioned the actual benefit of his group primarying fellow Democrats. Is this really the best use of resources and energy, especially when the broader goal is to defeat Republicans? It's the million-dollar question, or in this case the $20 million question, that Hogg's initiative has forced the party to confront. Does internal renewal require this kind of confrontational approach, or does it risk fatal self-inflicted wounds? And who's absolutely loving this internal Democratic drama? You guessed it, the Republicans. They are practically rubbing their hands together with glee. They see Hogg not just as an individual but as a symbol of what they're eager to brand as the Hogg wing of the Democratic Party. Young, radical, and in their view, out of touch. An unnamed national Republican operative even indicated a strategy to use Hogg to showcase this supposed takeover to the national media. Brian Seichik, an Arizona Republican strategist, put it even more bluntly: if he wants to work to elect more Democrat crazies and encourage more wokeism and nonsense, I'd say fantastic. They're basically offering to buy the popcorn. So, with all this heat, how does David Hogg defend himself? He's not exactly backing down. His core argument is that his actions are designed to light a fire under everybody's ass in our party. He believes the Democratic Party needs to do more than just be the lesser of two evils. He wants Democrats to actively inspire voters, to offer a compelling vision that gets people genuinely excited. In his words, we can't just hope that Donald Trump screws everything up so much that voters come begging back to us for any alternative. It's a call for proactive engagement, a rejection of what he sees as complacency within the party ranks. Hogg's vision is for a Democratic Party that is constantly renewing itself, that isn't afraid to challenge its own incumbents if they aren't delivering or inspiring. He sees these primaries in safe seats not as acts of sabotage but as vital mechanisms for accountability and regeneration. The Leaders We Deserve initiative has so far publicly endorsed one candidate, Illinois State Senator Robert Peters, for an open seat, indicating a careful, targeted approach. But the message is clear: no safe seat should mean a seat for life without a fight if a stronger, more inspiring candidate is ready to step up. He's essentially trying to make the party more internally competitive to make it stronger externally. This whole saga, from the primary challenges to the potential DNC revote, is undoubtedly stirring the pot as the Democrats look towards the 2026 midterms and the 2028 presidential election. The big question is whether this internal fire will forge a stronger, more dynamic party, or simply deepen existing divisions and create new ones. Party unity is always a precious commodity in politics, and actions that overtly challenge incumbents from within, especially when orchestrated by a party officer, can strain that unity to breaking point. It's a high-stakes gamble on the future direction of the Democratic Party. Ultimately, this drama highlights a fundamental tension within the Democrats: the push for generational change versus the desire for establishment stability. Hogg is the personification of that tension right now. His supporters see him as a courageous change agent, unafraid to speak truth to power, even within his own camp. His critics, however, view his tactics as reckless and divisive, potentially undermining the party at a critical juncture. As we sit here in June 2025, with the DNC revote looming, and the primary battles just beginning, one thing is certain. David Hogg has made sure nobody in the Democratic Party can afford to be comfortable, and that perhaps was his intention all along.